We can listen to the NPP parliamentary candidate Nilante Banaman, who addressed a press conference earlier today.
We are, however, not the least surprised by these acts of violence, considering the fact that in 2016, after a successful campaign launch at the famous Bukom Square, this same MP led thugs to go on a vandalization spree in the constituency on the back of yet another successful walk in honor of the memory of our youth organizer, the late William Waters Rasbustego. On Saturday, the MP and his boys came running round again without any provocation. It therefore goes without saying that these happenings in the constituency are explicitly orchestrated by the incumbent MP, whose persona and character depicts violence. This was the same person who, as the NDC parliamentary candidate in 2004, was cited for electoral fraud and violence and was injuncted from contesting that year's elections. The constituency from then on experienced peaceful electioneering campaigns and elections until he resurfaced in 2012 to contest the NDC primaries, which again was characterized by violence he masterminded. The lead up to that year's election and the events before, during and after the 2016 elections is still fresh on the minds of people. Madam Esla Usue Kufu, Abu Jinapo, the late Jacob Echebilamte, and my good self have been victims of his thuggery. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, yesterday's violent and unprovoked attacks goes to confirm that the MP has not departed from his violent ways. I hereby call on the police to, as a matter of urgency, arrest these NDC thugs and let the law take its due course to serve as a deterrent to their likes. Failing which, our people will be left with no other option than to defend ourselves. For now, I can only urge my people to remain calm, even in the face of these extreme provocations.
So the finger pointing continues. Well, the NDC has also been accusing the opponents. Scores of NDC supporters are receiving treatment currently at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital following the clash. My colleague Manuel Coranting joins us via Zoom. He was at the hospital earlier. Manuel, what's the condition of the injured and how many could you count when you went there?
Well, as of the time that I got there were just about 2 of them who were still on admission there. In fact, I'm told there were 15 of the people who are suspected to have been sympathizers of the NDC who were brought there last night. 13 of them received treatment and were discharged subsequently, but 2 of them, the first one has sustained gunshot wounds in his thigh. We're told that he was shot in his thigh and was brought to the hospital. The other person, we're told, rammed his motorbike into a glass seal because he was crossed by a vehicle at the time. And so this is the number that we have currently at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. 2 of them on admission. We are told that they are being taken for surgery. And the NDC vice chairman who spoke to me there tells me that the NDC party is going to take the full cost of treatment of all of the folks who sustained various degrees of injury there. And talking about the allegations and so on which were being made, but that particular interaction I had with him was not short of that. He puts the blame squarely at the doorstep of the NPP. He mentioned some names and says that the attack, if you like, the clash that we saw yesterday, was as a result of a premeditated shot to counter their peaceful walk. We know that on Saturday, the NPP had a procession on within the constituency. The NPP had a procession within the constituency, and then Sunday the NDC was supposed to have its own, which degenerated into the violent clashes that we saw yesterday. And he said that that was a carefully thought out plan, which was only to frustrate the NDC and make sure that their campaign was thwarted. Araba.
All right, thank you, Manuel, and we will be staying on this a while longer for all the updates, and we'll be bringing you that. But we have both the communications officers for the two leading parties in that particular constituency. They are joining us via Zoom. Mustafa Nete is the NDC communications officer, and Malik Abe is the communications officer for the NPP. We'll start with you, Mustafa. The constituency is in the news for all the wrong reasons. Mustafa, your MP has been accused of masterminding these attacks on the NPP supporters. How do you respond to it?
Thank you very much. This is palpable falsehood. Palpable falsehood. You see, how could the MP mastermind these attacks? It is palpable falsehood simply because, you see, we are on a peaceful walk. We have started a peaceful walk. We have gone all the, gone through all the principal streets of Accra. I mean, Jamestown and its environs. And when we actually got to the high streets, we were passing peacefully until the tail end of our crowd got to where they call the Blue Gate. You know, just at that point, the NPP people started throwing bottles. I mean, when we're passing, a majority of the crowd has left. It was the tail end of it, and then they started pelting bottles at our people. That was what angered the people. In fact,
Mustafa, hold on 1 second. I'm sure people are curious to know, did your did your members provoke the NPP members in any way? I mean, what provoked the attack?
Never at all. Never at all. We were on a peaceful walk. None of our people provoked any of them. Nobody threw anything at them. We were actually passing. And when we got there, when the tail end of our crowd got there, then a person, I saw the person, she was a young lady. She threw a bottle from that rooftop into our crowd. But we actually managed to take our people out to tell them that, look, let's focus on our work and let's get out of here. A lot of the people have already marched and they were ahead of us. So let's continue to go. We settled. And actually, the more we settled, the more they throw the bottles from the top to the down. In fact, as if it has been masterminded. Look at the video. You see the NPP tags holding crates of bottles. These are the people we are talking about. So at that point, they had hoarded a lot of bottles in crates, and they were pelting at the crowd that were passing. How could we have instigated it? How could the MP have instigated it? The MP had already left. He's way ahead of the crowd. And look at the tail end of the crowd, where the MP people are attacking the NDC.
All right. I'll come to you again, Mustafa. But Malik, do you know the people, your people, I'm talking about members of the NPP, who actually started throwing these bottles as alleged by the NDC? Hello, Malik, if you can hear me, who are your members who are said to have started throwing these bottles at the NDC supporters? Have you been able to identify them?
Let me say a very good afternoon to viewers. To move straight to your question about if I know our people, this is a question of thought actually, because at the very moment that the NDC came to the Blue Gate area, that's the area of incidents, the question we asked ourselves was, one, why did they have to halt their health walk and be there to create a scene? Secondly, why would Bukom Banku, who is one of the biggest advocates of John Dramani Mahama and the NDC in the constituency, climb up to ask the NPP people at Blue Gate to tell his very people to stop whatever they are doing and continue their health walk? So that should tell you clearly that there was an attack from within the NDC and their crowd to us at the top of Blue Gate before Bukom Banku had to intervene and beg us and tell his fellow people to continue with the health work. So the question clearly is, what happened? Somebody actually threw a bottle from their crowd to us, to our end. And that is why Bukom Banku had to walk and come and apologize on their behalf for the crowd to start moving. Nonetheless, they did not pay attention to his plea. And that was when all this helter-skelter started, because most of the people that were at the Blue Gate area are people who are, they are harmless, they had nothing at hand. Because all of us over there were just watching the float via social media, via Facebook. That's his official Facebook wall. So we noticed that when they got there, we were just watching our own thing, and then they started that attack. So what we did was we had to run for our lives, and we had about 3 or 4 people, which is clearly in the video, who actually helped us to escape. They were holding crates that they were blocking the stones and then the bottles that they were throwing. So it was their intervention that helped most of us to even escape the scene. And clearly from the video, you saw how they were actually throwing bottles and stones. And the question we put to them was that it's a high street, at Amos High Street. How on earth would anybody hold stones and bottles at the roadside? Unless, of course, it is from their end. And we actually, from investigation, found out that the Aboboya, that yellow van that was there, was actually the thing that was hosting the bottles and stones. So they had intentionally had to hold this thing and planted this thing so that they exhibit or execute this very plan. And I will attribute this to a very poor leadership on the side of the NDC, because we went to a solidarity walk the previous day and nothing of this happened. We did this because we had most of our executive members placed at vantage points within the queue. Their leader, who is Nilante Vanderpool, was part of the health work. Are you telling me and telling the whole world that if he, Nilante Vanderpool, who is noted for his violent attacks in NPP 2012, 2016, we know, and I don't want to recall history, and if Mustafa wants to doubt, I can recall the history right now, that if he had come out clearly to have spoken to his people that they should stop the act of violence and continue the health work, would this have happened? That is the question I put to him. But he stood there aloof and continued the work and told his hoodlums to sit back and then destroy our place. So when we had evacuated the place, that is when the hoodlums of the NDC got the chance to have climbed our resource center and broken our tiles, they broken our flash screen TVs, and then the refrigerator that we had there. They have totally vandalized the place. And this is the situation we are finding ourselves in, because we know exactly what the NDC is about in Odododiodio. In 2012, it happened. In 2016, it happened. It even went to the extent that he, Nilante Vanderpool, the MP, assaulted a member of parliament, a parliamentary candidate in 2016, in broad daylight. So in the attributes of the NDC, we know that there are traces of violence. And he, John Dramani Mahama, has already told us in February 2016, February 2019, that when it comes to revolutionary roots, the NDC has it. And then nobody can match them when it comes to acts of violence. And this is clearly what Nilante Vanderpool has exhibited. For him to be part of this health work, and for him not to have called his boys to order for them to have vandalized NPP property, that should tell you that this man is somebody who is actually purporting an act of violence and does not want any peace to prevail in Odododiodio.
Very well. So, I mean, clearly, the both of you are pointing accusing fingers at each other. But going forward, we do know that Odododiodio has over the years been identified as a hotspot, a major hotspot, especially when it comes to elections. So what are you both going to do to ensure that going forward, we don't witness some of these violence incidents that we saw yesterday? Perhaps we can start with you, Mustafa.
Now, let me go by. He's raised a number of issues and I want to deal with it. He said, why did the NDC halted at the Blue Gate? He said, why did Bukom Banku had to climb to the top and also deal with this whole, mess? You see, I have sent your producer, Parker, I've sent him a video. I've sent him a video of one of the NPP hoodlums running to the Blue Gate with machete and then having pistol in his hand. He ran to the place and started firing guns. That hoodlum is already known. He is the same person who attacked the MP at the police station. Everybody know him. He's been wielding gun, firing at everybody in Odododiodio. He's the same person that attacked the MP, like I said, during the registration, the 2020 registration. He is the same person moving from one polling station to the other, vandalizing and
him to the police. Have you passed on this information? Mustafa, have you reported him to the police? Have you passed on this evidence you have to the police?
We have reported this several times to the police station. Look, go send your cameras and your reporters to the Jamestown police station, and you'll be told the number of reports we have, we have done there. Again, during the time, during the registration, John Dramani Mahama visited some polling stations in Accra. This same hoodlums also attacked the NDC executives when when John Dramani visited Odododiodio. We recorded and we also reported same to the Jamestown police station. Even yesterday, when the whole issue happened, these hoodlums were running around every house in Jamestown, attacking people. When I was even at when we were at the accident center of Kolibu Teaching Hospital, these people, the people that they were attacking in the vicinity, they were bringing them one after the other with machete wounds. Some of them had gunshots on their legs. Some of them had bottle cuts on them. Now we know these are orchestrated attacks. Already, when all these things started, Honorable Nilante Vandapoe has already restrained his people that look, these attacks will come, but don't also retaliate. So all the NDC people have never retaliated in all of these things.
Mustafa, let's make progress.
Let me finish.
Let's make progress.
Before yesterday, we had already sent this matter to our chiefs. We have already sent this matter to the Ga-Manche, and the Ga-Manche had come up with a roadmap where our political activities are going to be, properly delineated. So when we go for the house-to-house today, then the NPP also follows tomorrow. Now, actually, when we have abided by all of these things, yesterday, the day before yesterday, they had their own peacefully. When we had our own, when we got there, they started throwing the bottles at us. So Tukombanku got to the top to tell them that, look, stop what you are doing. What you are doing will create tension.
Point earlier.
A lot of,
Mustafa, we don't have much time. You've made that point earlier. Let's make progress. How do we ensure that we don't witness violence like this going forward? We have 42 days to the elections. What's your side going to do?
I have said, when all these things happened, we took it to the Ga-Manche, roadmap was drawn. But at that meeting, because it is an intentional something, Nilante Banaman said that, look, in 2016, just like Malik is saying, in 2016, they vandalized our things. In 2012, they did the same. And so this time, we are going to retaliate. And that is what Banaman said when we met the chiefs. And so what happened yesterday, we knew it was an attack from the NPP. It was something that had been orchestrated. When you go to the top, you realize that in the video, those guys are having crates of bottles. They have packed crates of bottles at the top. Now, when the NDC is passing, they are going to blast them with their bottles. They are going to cause harm to their bodies, and that is what they did. I have sent your producer a video
to uphold the peace in the area.
The people were holding guns. They were firing.
Mustafa, what is your side going to do to uphold the peace in the area and avert the loss of lives? That's the question I'm asking you.
We have already extended our hand. I said we reported to our chiefs and said that what is happening, it is causing harm to our brothers. Malik is my brother. Malik is my brother.
Okay,
and I will not do such thing to him.
Put the same
and
question
that is why
Malik.
I am saying that. That is why I'm saying that we have somebody at the presidency. If he is committed to making sure that all these things come to a halt, he would put his hand to the cherry.
Very well.
We believe that when he put his hand to the cherry and order his boys to stop what they are doing, all of these things will come to an end.
Very, very well. Thank you. Malik, what about you? What is your side committing to do to ensure that there's peace going forward?
Well, our side, obviously, Odododiodio was very grateful to this government because we've had unprecedented achievements and developments, which we are meant on campaigning on to make sure that we unseat the current MP who actually has no or not little achievement in the constituency. Now, moving forward, he spoke about the Ga-Manche case. Yes, there was this agreement that we'll be having a campaign every now and then that we actually do. Because the whole of last week, because of the demise of our youth organizer, RAS, we've not been able to do any campaign activity. And there hasn't been a single clash after that agreement was signed between us and the government and the NDC. We haven't had any clash or whatsoever. So it was only their peace walk that they orchestrated to actually vandalize our properties that led to this. Moving forward, we held a press conference earlier today around 10 a.m. to call our boys to order, tell them not to retaliate or do anything that will bring the name of the NPP or Nilante Bannerman into dismay. Because now every single thing that is happening in the constituency, they, the NDC, want to draw sympathetic votes out of it. To say that Nilante Bannerman he's now the angel and is somebody that is not drawn to violence. Meanwhile, they know very well that this man is a man who is a very violent man, and record has, or the past track of what he has done has been able to show it. So he, Nilante Bannerman, has come out clearly and extended his hand to the NDC to let them know that he's a man of peace. And ever since he became a leader of the NPP, it is just about records and just about developments in the Odododiodio. So all what we advocate for is